in a moment. There we
Okay.
go. You're on.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone. Welcome. Hope you're having a really just meaningful day here today with eCoach Day. My name is Christian Avalos. I am your partner success manager here with Discovery Ed. I've been working here with Discovery Ed for about a little over 3 years now. This is my first year working with Anne Arundel County Public Schools, but I'm super excited because I actually live in Anne Arundel County. So I am, I just want you to know that if you need anything, I am available to you. I work with Carrie and Stephanie very closely. I'll drop my email into the chat. So if you have any questions or have anything that you want to bring to my attention, you are able to do so. And today we also have Brad Fountain with us. He is the Senior Director of Teaching and Learning here at Discovery Ed. We're really, I was really happy to be able to have Brad come in and conduct today's sessions. Today we're going to be highlighting how to keep your students engaged, empowered, and energized with Discovery Ed. But before we begin, I did want to highlight something that we have here at Discovery Ed, the DEN Star program. So if you're new to ACPS, you do have access not only to great content with Discovery Education, but you also have the Discovery Educator Network. So it's a global community of educators with really just a mission to help improve education. It goes well beyond just sharing, works, Discovery educational resources, but it really kind of helps you focus enhancing overall practices. You're able to connect with teachers worldwide for those best practices, to share ideas and just advice in general. We do host, similar to eCoach Day, 2 events in the fall and in the spring. We call it DenVertCon. So if you click on, or if you take a picture of that QR code, if you're not already a Den Star, that's how you become one. And we really kind of help highlight the good work that you're doing in and out of the classrooms for your students. So I wanted to make sure that we share that with you. And if you're already a Den Star, you're still a Den Star. You don't have to reapply. You don't have to sign up or anything. So that's the good thing. But I just wanted to make sure that you had that information as well. But I want to kick it over to Brad. He is going to lead us on our journey today.
Brad, you're
first time on virtual meetings. My fault. I apologize. Oh my gosh. Anyway, first off, thank you guys for taking some time. I want to make sure that I've got the right group. My understanding here is we are focusing with 3rd through 5th grade. Is that right? Awesome. I got the right group. So we will focus in those grade ranges. Want to get a sense from you guys, though. What is your familiarity or comfort with Discovery Education? If you were going to rank yourself between a 1 and a 5, 1 being, I've heard of it or I've never even heard of it, all the way to a 5, meaning, you know what, Brad, I could probably teach you how to do your job at Discovery. So where would you rank yourself between a 1 and a 5? Fractions and decimals are allowed. And even encouraged, because we are, we're elementary folks. Lots of 3s and a halves, 3s, great. All right. See a lot of 3s, 3s and a half, somewhere between 2 and 3. We'll call it a 2.78, Miss Augustine. So we'll go there. It's between 2 and 3. All right. Here's my challenge I always put out for myself. You can call me on it. It's not going to hurt my feelings. I actually love it when this happens. If at any point in time today you get through, and we're about, I know we run to about 11:55. If we're at the 11:45, 11:50 mark, and I haven't shown you anything you didn't know you could already do in Discovery, call me on it. Say, Brad, you didn't teach me anything new today. I will promise I will find something you did not know you could do with Discovery. So I have enough tricks in my bag that I know I can pull that out. All right, so we're going to go ahead and start off here. I'm going to share my screen. I actually can present with my tab, because if I do it that way, you hear the audio. Apparently, that's what I learned the hard way earlier this morning. All right. So, Christian, can you see my screen all right?
I've got you clear. And if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. I am monitoring the chat so I can interrupt Brad and make sure we get them answered in a timely fashion.
Perfect. All righty. So a couple things I'm going to do for you guys. I'm going to model for you. Your homepage is kind of laid out. You have the ability to actually customize this homepage right up here under Edit Home Layout. And I'm actually going to move some things. I'm going to move my channel on this account up to the top. I'm using an account in Anne Arundel County. So everything I'm showing you, you have access to. To me, there's nothing more frustrating than a teacher or an administrator looking at things and having someone present something to them and then someone to tell them later on, oh, you didn't actually have access to all of that. So I'm in one of your accounts. So everything that I see or that you're going to see within my account or this account, you have access to. So just know that with comfort. Your students already have access through your single sign-on, and that is updated every night. So as students, change and move from school to school, things happen, we know. That should update overnight within your system. So you'll have those classes. Your classrooms should already be populated for you under My Classrooms and in here. So all that information is built out. So here is an example of this teacher. I'm trying not to mess with her account too much, but they have their classes all built out. So you're good to go. So probably most of you think of Discover Education. When you first think of Discover Education, my guess is you think of video. And I'm not going to discount that we have amazing video content, but I want to go beyond video to start off, because I want to give you a sense of some of the things that you may not be aware of that you have access to. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go into, I'm going to do a keyword search for something called interactives. When I do a keyword search for interactives, you'll see that we have interactives. We have a best of channel. We have science interactive channel, math interactive channel, social studies interactive channel, and English language arts interactive channel. And then FET, which are both science and math interactives. So what channels are first, so they're curated content collections. So if I'm looking for something for math or social studies or English language arts, I can open this up and I can see that it's organized by grade band, K5, 6-8, and 9-12. Now, I want to talk just a minute about channels and how you can best utilize channels. If I spend a lot of time teaching math, maybe I'm, kind of partially compartmentalized, or maybe I'm the math teacher for our 4th grade group, that's fine. I may want to just pull content that's specific to math. Or even without that, I may want to highlight the fact that I have these available to me to remind myself. You can add a channel to your home page by clicking right here, this little ribbon icon. It says add to my channels. And where I click on that, go back to my home page, you'll see that now under my list of channels, I've added that Math Interactives channel. Now you can reorder these, dragging and dropping them, and so I can have it front and center for when I want to use it. This saves me from having to constantly search and pull up information, remember how I got to something. I can pull these channels into our homepage at any point in time. So go back to those math interactives for a moment. And what you'll see is, this is, again, going to be kindergarten through 5th grade. So you're going to see some low-level things here. I know for 3rd through 5th grade, you probably don't need counting 0 to 5, at least we hope not. But when you get a little further in, you'll see then greater than, less than. Or you'll get into activities like, let's see, we're going to do less than 100, less than 20s, the swimming through, looking at multiplication expressions, division. Now we're getting into some of the areas here. And these are just what we call skill builders. So practice activities that you can utilize with your class. So they're broken into categories of fractions and ratio and proportions, divisions, multiplication as you work through those. So I'm going to pull one of these up for just a minute. Maybe I want to practice for my 3rd graders, practicing some multiplication problems. These are things that I can just have my kids do as an independent practice at home. Maybe they have a little extra time at the end of the day that we want to do something with. We can do these little fun activities they can kind of explore and play with. It automatically assigns them a name. They can't change their name. That's for security system preferences, so that they don't put any information out we don't want to have them out. They can actually create a game where that any other student in their group, in their classroom, could actually join the same game if they wanted to. And then when I'm ready, I can click play now. When you do that, if there's no one in there, it'll automatically go against the computer. But anybody else who joined, they can all be in there teamed up together. So we'll go into little tug team tractors. It's going to give us a question here. So 3 times 4, what is that? We'll see what happens. 4 times 4 is 16. And as we go through, we're going to get I get high enough up here, I can eventually win the tug. If I get something wrong, it's going to let me know I'm going to start moving in the wrong direction. I'll get a couple of these wrong here in a minute. You'll start seeing me slowly get tugged back as I move through. So these are quick little easy things that we can do in our classroom. Little fun, engaging resources that, again, I can use for practice, for skill building as my kids are working through. I do want to emphasize that you do have access to the 6-8. So if I'm a 5th grade teacher and I have some high flyers and I want to pull in some higher level math, I can pull those students and challenge those students with those additional levels if I want to. So those are all, just again, math interactives are there available for you. But you also have, again, as I showed you, when you do a keyword search for interactives, you will see that you have science, social studies, English language arts. The English language arts ones, again, range in level. So whether we're dealing with practicing on spelling, looking at antonyms, things like that, or for early literacy, or for some of our students with special needs, these can come in handy. Or also for English language learners, these resources here can be beneficial. So there's lower elementary grammar, upper elementary grammar are all built out. So again, these are, again, activities you can use quickly and easily in your classroom. So just be aware that those are tools that you have in addition to video resources. The other ones I want to show you, another series I want to show you, is something called instructional activities. So if you do a keyword search for instructional activities, these is a channel right here. This channel has already been added to this person's homepage. I can see that right there where it's filled in. These are organized, again, by grade band. So I'll go to 3-5 since this is the group we're focusing with. And you'll see there's featured ones. And then there's ones that have been recently added. You can scroll across to see additional ones. And then they're organized by science, social studies, math, health, English language arts. So I'm going to go to the English language arts one to start with. And this is one of my favorites. It's called a daily sentence fix. Something easy I can do in my classroom. I'm not in Anne Arundel County, so I don't know all the details and challenges you work with, but I know as a teacher what I ran into quite a bit, where kids would come in, some were bus riders, some were car riders, some would walk to school where I taught. And so kids would come in at different times in the morning when once the opening bell rang. So as kids were coming in, what could I have them do? It was after they got their book bag and things kind of organized and put away. They was still on set task, but at the same time, people could do independently without having to be a lot of teacher directed. These daily sentence fixes are something that's really quick and easy to use. And let's go into today's date, March 1st. There's a little information on something that happened this day in history. So in 1872, Yellowstone became the U.S.'s first national park. A little video about Yellowstone if you want to play that. But then there's sentences that have some mistakes, spelling, grammatical, capitalization, punctuation mistakes. So kids can now, once they've got their stuff put away, look at your daily sentence fix, try to make the corrections. Now, if Christian and I are both in a classroom, as students, we could, after everyone's gotten in and had a chance to do this activity, we could pass ours across to each other. And then the teacher could click on answer key, and everything that needs to be corrected is now in bold letters. And so now I can check Christian can grade mine. We can see how we did. And teachers can talk about what those corrections should be and why they're needed and why they're important. And the reason for these is, and I'll show a couple others in a moment, is these what we call ready to use lessons are quick, easy things that you can utilize in your classroom. You don't have to build them from scratch. They're already built out for you with the intention of saving you time. You'll see some other ones, and I'm going to call out some specific components of these in just a second here. We go back into those. Here's those instructional activities. I'm going to go back to 3-5 for a moment. And I'll open up one for social studies. Let's do, we got St. Patrick's Day coming up. So these have teacher notes for instructional practices that can be utilized. A lot of times they're multiple pages. And anytime you see, text on a screen, A couple things. Let me get to where I have a little more text. The text is going to be written on level for my students. And as you can imagine, some students would be able to read this without any difficulty, but some students would be challenged to read this. How can I make it accessible for all the kids, whether they're an English language learner, whether they're reading below grade level, whether they have other special needs that they need to have accommodations met for. Any text that's on the screen, which is right here, can utilize what's called immersive reader. And I want to emphasize these ready-to-use lessons have text that are already on there. But even if you build your own studio board and you put your own text on there, it will enable immersive reader. It does not matter who it is. When you open up an immersive reader, it will read aloud for students if they need it.
History of St. Patrick's Day. St. Patrick's Day recognizes the Roman Catholic feast day of the patron saint.
Now I can change from a female to a male voice, adjust how fast or slow it reads. If students have visual issues, they can increase the font size. For students with certain special needs, they can change the background color of the font. For other needs, I can go to reading preferences. For students who suffer with dyslexia or other certain special needs, sometimes too much text on a screen can be overwhelming. So how can I help narrow it down? I can click right here and narrow it to 3 lines of text or a single line of text. We also have the ability to adjust into other languages. So I heard in our earlier group, one of our groups said French was a language you deal with periodically. So now I can go word by word, hear it in English,
Recognizes.
hear it in French,
Reconnaît.
or I can convert the entire document to French and it'll read aloud in French.
Histoire de la Saint-Patrick. La Saint-Patrick reconnaît la fête catholique romaine du Saint-Patrick.
And so this is a really powerful way to support those English language learners in our classrooms. But the other thing I like to mention with this is, as a former principal, I had a lot of kids who would come to me that were either fully or partially bilingual. And, amazing kids. They went home to amazing parents. But those parents wanted to help their child out just like my English-speaking families. But because I didn't have content in their native language, it was challenging for them. This levels the playing field not just in the classroom, but helps level the playing field in the home environment as well. So this is a great tool to have access to and something you can utilize, whether you put in text or whether we put in the text. Let me pause and see if there's any questions so far, Christian, that are sitting out there.
A couple questions that I've already answered in the chat, and Carrie was kind enough to go ahead and drop some instructions for sharing Discovery Ed resources in the Brightspace. So we're good.
Good. All right. Another piece that I didn't highlight, but it sometimes becomes important, is if you want to include grammar, you can have students look at and see if they can identify the nouns, and then you can actually highlight nouns or verbs, adjectives, adverbs, all in there. So again, other tools you have. And again, it doesn't matter whether we put the text in there or you put the text. The other thing about these is if you don't like something that's on here, you want to modify it, you think there's a better way to do it, hey, that's great. We want to give you that capability. We want to give you that flexibility. So you can make a copy of this. And when you make a copy, you now have a version that's your own that you can modify and edit. And so now you can change this. And as you change it, if you want to share it with another teacher, you can share this with another teacher and they'll get your edited version of that. So yeah, it's a really, really powerful tool to have access to. And those pre-made lessons just save teachers so much time. So I wanted you to be aware of those resources right at your fingertips. Another one that can be really helpful is we have a whole collection of audiobooks. So again, we're going to get the video in a moment, but we're going to go into our audiobooks collection. Our audiobooks are organized by K5, 6, 8, and 9, 12. And as you go through, you'll see Fable Cottage, which deal with fables, White Fang, Journey to Center of the Earth, Beatrix Potter, Call of the Wild, 39 Clues, which is a very popular series. just all of these resources, again, right at your fingertips to use within your classroom. Goosebumps, the whole series there as well. So again, it's a powerful tool to have, and a great resource to have, again, at your fingertips. Those audiobooks, if you want to do a search, you can find audiobooks in other languages. If you do a keyword search, over on the right-hand side, it says language, and you can choose Spanish, and it'll show you any of the audiobooks available in Spanish or in French or in Mandarin. Those are the languages we have right now. Again, the audiobooks is another resource you have right at your fingertips. All right. I'm going to go a little different direction now. We're going to take just a moment. I'm going to go into a series that I actually love. Oops, type in here. A series called DEmystified. These are created in-house, and they're designed to introduce scientific concept to students. So these are some of the hosts. They work here at Discovery in our headquarters in Charlotte. Here, there are pre-made lessons to go with these, but I'm just going to highlight one specifically here. One of my dear friends who works here at Discovery, Martel, and these are great ways to introduce scientific concepts to students. It's a newer series that we have, but I'll highlight another part of this that's important in a minute after I start playing it. But we're going to be focusing on different types of energy. It's a great way to introduce, in this case, types of energy to students.
Now you see me. Now you don't. Could you imagine what life would be like without this bright little bulb? Many of us use light so often we don't even think about it. You may know that a light bulb needs energy. One type of energy goes into the light bulb, and other kinds of energy come out. What are the differences between these types of energy? I have an idea. Let's shed some light on the subject and demystify those types of energy.
Now I'm going to turn the audio off for a minute. I want to show you that you can also turn on closed captioning in multiple languages. So again, let's go in this case, we'll go Spanish. And now as he's talking,
Energy happening around us all the time. Many types of energy are on full display.
The audio is in English, but the closed captioning is in Spanish. Again, another great support for our English language learners in our classroom.
In old-fashioned life.
Now, the other piece, let me ask you a question for a moment here. I want to find out from you guys is if you were showing a video, and hopefully all of you at some point in time have shown videos in your classroom, but if you show a video in your classroom, how do you make sure your kids retain the information you need them to from the video? So put that in the chat window. Let us know how you verified your students got the information you needed to from the video. And I'll let Christian relay those to me.
Looks like Kathy might already know where we're going. Add questions within the video.
Kathy is one of our virtual academy instructors, so she does everything online. So she's yeah.
Awesome.
We've got a think, pair, share.
Yep. Okay.
KWL.
KWLs are good. Great. All right, so what I'm going to show you here, and it sounds like someone has the idea already, but there's a tool right here. A lot of folks just aren't aware of it. It's called Build an Activity. This works with any video, not just the ones in Demystified, not just certain videos, any video in Discovery. Now, right now, you can't upload your own video for that, but any video in Discovery you can do this with. So I'm going to click on Build an Activity. Slideshow would put it in the studio board. Video quiz is what we're going to go into. And what this does is it takes the video and it puts it into our quiz maker. Oops, it's making me do this part because teacher hadn't filled this information out. So I'll do that real quick. Finish there. All right, so now it takes it into the quiz maker. Normally, it'll just bypass that because you've already filled that information out. So when I start playing the video, I'm going to turn the audio off this time fully while I'm doing this. At any point in time, as the video is playing, I am going to be able to put a question in. So I click Add a Question. Typo, hold on. And so I can do a short answer, I can do a poll, I can do a multiple choice. I could do, let's see. I can spell, there we go. Mark the one that's correct. And I can choose exactly where I want that question to pop up. Maybe I don't quite want it there. I want it at the, we're going to do right here at the 5-second mark. So I can adjust my seconds right here. And when I'm finished deciding where I want that question to put in save and play. When I click save and play, what will happen is the video will play. A little dot will appear at the 5-second mark, letting me know that I have a question there. When I'm ready, I can add another question at any point in time. Again, I can do a poll, a multiple choice, or a short answer. Let's do a poll here. And I can have my students, do the poll action. And again, I can add as many questions as I want to up through 1 per second. Please don't do that to your kids. Don't put a question every second, but you can do that. Now, as you're building these, you can share these with other teachers. So if Christian and I are both teaching energy, he's building the quiz for this video, I'm building a different video quiz. We can share those back and forth. If we get the other person's quiz, maybe he doesn't like my third question. That's fine. He can change his version of the test without modifying mine. I also can launch this a couple different ways. I can assign it, and when I assign it to students, this allows them to do it. It's independent practice, small group, homework assignment. Any of those can be done with the assign feature. And what will happen is the video will play on the left side of the screen. I'll show you what this looks like in a minute. And the questions will appear on the right side of the screen. So this is a great way to kind of have a opportunity for kids to watch a video at home with having some means of holding them accountable. If you do launch now, what happens is the video will play on your device in front of the class, so on your projector, or on your smart Promethean board or smart board, whatever you have. It'll play up there. When you get to one of those dots on the video on your screen will stop, and on the student screen, all the question will pop up for the students to answer, and then all their responses will come to you in your system. All that data will get recorded for you, and then you can export any of that if you want to out, so you have a collection of all their responses. So there's 2 different ways of doing it. Assign, which is going to be independent practice, or Launch Now, which is going to be a whole group activity. To see what it looks like for a student, I'll show you what a student would see. I went to the student view, start quiz, and now as the video is playing, you see what happens.
Now you see me.
When I get to that first dot, video paused, and I have a place to answer my question. So that's how it works. It's a real easy, quick process, simple for teachers to use, simple for students to utilize. I will show some other features around quiz in a few moments, but I wanted to get you that one at least to start with. Again, any video can utilize that. Let me pause. Christian, any questions coming up so far?
No questions so far, so good.
Great. All right. Going to do a couple other things for you. So we did a little bit of our interactives. We did our audio books. Another thing that's helpful.
One pop-up, Brad. How do we get results of the quiz?
So if you can hold on that one, this account, because it's not my own account, I don't have any results to show you. Let me get to when I finish when I go back to quiz, and I'll show you where results are, if that's okay. Whoever answered that question. Just bear with me for just a minute. We'll get to that. So I'm going to table that one for just a minute, because we'll come back to it. So let me ask a question for folks. If someone doesn't mind, put in the chat window something you're either teaching right now or you're getting ready to teach.
All right, women's history.
Women's history. All right. When you do a search for anything out there, like women in history or women's history, when you do a search, the way it works in our system is it's going to give you every result. So in this case, I'm getting everything from pre-kindergarten through high school. You can filter your results. So I'm finding just things that are age and developmentally appropriate for 3-5 by clicking here. I can search for types of media. Do I just want videos? Do I want activities, which are those ready, pre-made lessons? Do I want to see both options for me? Or do I want to include channels? These are toggle on or off. So as I'm toggling on or off, it narrows my results as I go through. If you turn off all of them, it goes back to all. But the other thing we hear from a lot of teachers sometimes is, and when I search for something, I'm seeing a lot of older videos. And the reason for that is the way our search system works is it first searches for, do the keywords match? And then second, how popular is and how many times has the resource been used? So obviously the older a video is, potentially the more frequently it's been used. So how can I filter out so I see newer things that are available? Come right here to where it says relevancy. Click on the drop down and click on recently added. And that'll filter out the newest content around whatever keyword search you're doing. So if I'm getting ready for something, or maybe I'm doing something on fractions, same thing applies. It's going to do a keyword search. It's going to look for frequently used and then most popular. Frequently used and most popular, but also matching the keyword. If I want to see the recently added, this will allow me to see the recently added content for that area for grades 3-5, because I've still turned on grade 3-5. So it's a way to help you find the content you want that's the best and easiest to use, but also the most recently added content is to sort that way to help you find things you're looking for in the newest material. So I always encourage you, as you're searching, you don't have to do that, but it just helps you find the newest material so that you always know I'm getting the latest and greatest from Discovery, is by filtering out recently added first. Just narrows your focus down. And again, now I can just go to videos. If I'm looking for the newest videos, I can do that. So yeah, all those are there. All right, we're going to do a little activity together now. I'm going to pause me talking for a little bit, and we're going to do a search for something called SOS. SOS is like you're asking for help. These are instructional strategies. They're organized by categories of citing evidence, summarizing, compare and contrast, point of view and purpose. You see all the different ones here. I don't have to read them for you. Some of them have student-facing videos, and some are teacher-led. And we're going to use one that's a student-facing video called an AEIOU. Now, the way this works, I'm going to play this video like you were a student in my class. So bear with me on this part. And we're going to have you do this using the chat window in a few moments. But this is a great way to introduce students the opportunity, a way of summarizing information, so that they're kind of remembering the key details and the important details of an activity or lessons you did earlier in the day or sometime during the day of teaching. So go ahead and play this.
A-E-I-O-U. One of the first things you ever learned at school was probably A-E-I-O-U. Okay, and sometimes why. Here's a fresh spin on AEIOU, and this one will help you summarize big ideas about what you learn, think about how it makes you feel, and note what you find interesting or have questions about. You'll need a piece of paper and something to write with. First, write AEIOU down the side of your paper, like this: AEIOU. Now, next to each letter, make a note of what it stands for. A is for adjective. An adjective is a word that describes something like colorful or fast. E is for emotion. This is where you'll note how something made you feel. I is for interesting. What did you find interesting? O is for oh. Was there anything that surprised you? U is for That's the sound you make when you have questions or are confused. So jot down something you're unsure of or want to learn more about. Your paper should look something like this: A, adjective; E, emotion; I, interesting; O, oh; U, When you're ready, watch a video, read an article, or listen to some audio. Pause when you need to, and make notes in the right place. You may want to watch, listen, or read again in order to fill in your categories. When you're done, you have a set of notes that describes what you learned, how it made you feel, why it was interesting and surprising, and what you can learn about next.
Alrighty, so we can use the chat window, and love for someone to give us an adjective that describes something they've seen so far.
Interactive, organized.
Okay,
Eye-opening, I like that one.
that's good.
Helpful.
Awesome. E, an emotion you're feeling right now.
We got a lot of excited, hopeful.
Good. Good. I, something interesting you've seen so far.
We've got building activities, the closed captions in different languages, the video quiz feature, DEmystified, SOS videos for students.
Good. Oh, something surprised you, hopefully in a good way. And we're not done yet, but hopefully something that surprised you.
Captions in different languages, how you can tailor content. So many different topics to learn from, more than just videos to watch. That's a great one.
Yep. And then the other piece is the you questions you may have, and then if you have any of those, we'll pull those together. I do want to address the question we had earlier about the quiz, so I'm going to go there for just a moment. Remind me, this is my third one, so things are starting to run together a little bit on me. Did we do the educator supports with this group to start with or not?
We did not.
Okay, so let me hit this real quick and then we'll do quiz. Educator supports is a great place to go. There are resources for getting started. So if you have new teachers in your building who are trying to figure out how to use Discovery, this is a great place to point them to on how to use ready-to-use lessons, how to use quiz, how to use Studio, how to find, save, and play media. There's also things like hot topics. So English Language Learning Center. So how do I support students? How do I become a better teacher for developing academic vocabulary for my English language learners? There are many lessons right here that are available to help teachers understand better ways of instructing English language learners. There's also instructional support material here for English language learners as well in your classroom. So there's a ton in the Professional Learning Center that you can utilize in addition to the hot topics. There's professional learning. And in professional learning, there's a section called Professional Learning Now. And here are looking at leveraging student feedback, or empowering ELL writing skills, or empowering learners, intentional social emotional learning, looking at strategy K2 learning for learning for effective digital instruction. So just depending on what you're looking to do, creating clear and concise learning goals, those are all there. You'll have a variety of things you can pull from, little mini lessons you can learn to use in your classroom as well. So let's take a moment. I'm going to go to my other account for a second. I'm going to go into quiz because I want to show you a couple things else in quiz. So bear with me while I leave this account. And quiz is this tool that we talked a little bit about with the video, but we're going to dive a little deeper into it. So quiz is, again, it's something you have access to. There's a quiz library right here. So whenever you go into quiz, there's a quiz library. They're organized by grade band. I go to 3.5. And I can find ones on different types of topics, whether it's growth mindset or process of photosynthesis. Those are all there. But you can also build your own quizzes. When you create a quiz, you can ask a live question. We're going to do this in a moment together. But I'm going to go to build a new quiz. I can do a video quiz, which is what we showed you earlier, putting a video with questions on top of it. But we're going to go to a standard quiz. And in this case, what we have are the ability to ask short answer questions, polls, multiple choice questions, multiple select, draw, annotate, audio files. And if I choose, let's do short answer. I can upload an image if I wanted to. And I can put in any question I want. This can be an image from Discovery or something from another website, up to you. Basic question. You can open it. If I want to change this now all of a sudden to a multiple choice, I can do that. And I can put in here, maybe I'm going to say globe, ball, and I don't know what else, bowl. There we go. And so I can mark those, any way I want, have that multiple choice option there. I can add different types of questions to the same quiz. So in this case, maybe I want to create an audio question, or my kids can actually read the passage aloud. And so now I can put a passage up here of a book that I've taken a picture of if I wanted to, maybe like this. Now my kids read it aloud, and then it'll record them as they're reading. So I'm looking for tracking for fluency, and how, especially my third graders, those readers who are working through that fluency component, I can hear how they're reading. This is a really great tool as you're working on reading instruction, to have kids read at the beginning of the year, read again and record at the end of the first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, and fourth quarter. And now you have a record of how kids have improved throughout the year on their reading with fluency as you move through that. So audio is another capable tool you can use. You'll also, no, I didn't want to do that part. I'm going to add one more. You can also do what's called annotate. So student, you could add in your own image and have kids label how nutrients get from the soil to the leaves of the plant. And so then they could draw on top of this. And I'll show you an example of this here in just a second. Whenever a student completes one of these, I will see all the data in my results. So there's a results for any quiz, whether it's a video quiz. I can filter by video quiz, and I can see all my responses. No one, actually, this one's got some answers. So I'd see all of my students. I can look by question if I want to. These are all short answer, and I can grade them very quickly this way by clicking on a check or putting an X for ones that are incorrect. So really easy for us to do that way. Close that out, sorry. I also can go back to quiz results. For those annotate ones, let me show you what that looks like. These are really cool to see. And it's this one. That's it right there. Here's a student who I've gone in and I've actually had them label how water and nutrients flow through a plant. Now I'm going to see his response, and I can see what he has done. He's labeled this with his understanding. And then I can mark that correct if I'm ready to. Anything I need to as I'm working through that. So those are how you see the results and the things that are done. And again, any of that data, let's see here, there's this one here. I can export the responses into a spreadsheet or whatever I need to so that I have that data for my own knowledge as we work through it. Let me pause before we do our last little activity here. Any questions about quiz so far?
Nothing in the chat so far.
All right, we're going to do one last activity together. So we're going to go what's called a live quiz. Think about it in your classroom, the number of times you've gone in and you want to ask a question. Maybe they're doing a reading of a book that you're doing together. Maybe there's a hands-on lab you've done and you want to ask your kids detail around it. What I want you to do is I want you to click on this link that I've put in the chat window. And you can join this quiz. So any questions that I want to ask of my kids, I can do that. Now, you're going to see the power of this in a moment, but I want you to think about your classroom. Maybe you can relate to this. I hope so at some point, some way. When you ask questions orally in your class, what I typically see is the Hermione Granger effect if you're a Harry Potter fan. You got that kid in your classroom who's going to raise their hand and know the answer to every question out there. No offense, I don't need to know what Hermione knows. She's a great kid, but she's going to get it right every time. I need to know what Ron knows, Ron Weasley, who's shy and bashful, the wallflower in the classroom, just doesn't want to be called on. Well, how can I get them to respond without them feeling uncomfortable? So I'm going to show you how this works. I'm going to unlock student devices. You'll notice all the names are hidden. And I'm going to ask you a question. So in this question, I'm going to ask you, what is the favorite thing you've seen today so far? So I'm going to ask you to put in there, what is your favorite thing you've seen so far? You can see, I can see how many people responded. 3 of 15, 4 of 15. Now, at any point in time, I can click right here where it says show answers. Notice what happens. I see all the responses that are out there. I can highlight one if I want to, but it doesn't show who that student is. Now we can have a conversation. Even if it's wrong, it's not wrong, don't get me wrong, but if it's wrong, we can have a talk about, hey, how can we make this a better answer? And without singling out that child. I also can quickly and easily mark the ones that are correct. You're all going to get a correct on this really quickly as long as you answered something. And I can quickly grade these just by doing this. Can't give you a correct if you haven't answered anything. But again, real simple tool. Now, the other thing I can do is I can ask another question. We can go in and do a whole nother question. I can show names. Don't recommend doing that, but if you needed to, you could do that. I also can pull a random answer. And we can have a talk about a random answer that I pulled off the list. But I also can get an exit ticket, get a sense of how my class is feeling. So I'm going to ask you to give me a sense of how you're feeling right now about Discover Education. Feel free to put in it's too difficult just so you can see the colors change. It's not going to hurt my feelings. It's fine. And yeah, so you can see this graph built out of how my kids are feeling about a lesson we've done today. There you go. And when I'm done with everything, I click finish right here and watch what happens. When I click finish, all my responses get pulled out and I get a list of all my students. I've got where they're feeling, how they're feeling about their exit ticket. I need more practice. I feel confident. I can look at question view and I can see all the responses of all my students at one click of a button. It's a really, really powerful tool. And great to do for, again, those open-ended questions. So I know we're right at our time. Want to pause one more time to see if there's any particular questions but hopefully you enjoyed today's session. Hopefully you learned something new. If you don't have a class, Jennifer, yes, you can do this. You just have to go have them enter the code and make sure you've enabled guests so that guests can join your quiz.
Brad, do they have to do guest even if they're going in through ClassLink, which would automatically sign students in?
Probably not, but
okay.
It's safer that way.
We actually have some people who prefer to have it to turn off guests because at the middle school they tend to put in some inappropriate names, as one might
Not
guess.
at middle school, never.
Middle school is why we can't have nice things.
I understand. Well, thank you guys for your time. We greatly appreciate it. If you need any other help, let us know. Or you have a student label. Not sure exactly what you're asking for that.
So where you had the kid actually label the diagram?
Oh, yeah.
And how would you create something like that?
Sure. Let me go back to that for a second.
And Catherine, to answer your question, to share quizzes with other teachers, there is a share tab in all of the quizzes at the top right corner, and you can share that link with any other teacher, and they'll be able to make a copy and edit it as they would like to.
So to answer the question about creating one where they can draw on top of it, you click on Create New. Make sure you go to Build a New Quiz, not a live question. You can't do it in live questions. And then you're going to go to Standard Quiz. Once you're in Standard Quiz, you got to give it a name. And then you're going to want to do what's called Annotate. So any annotation questions allow you to take an image. So I'll go grab another image from my device here. And let's go, let me go down here. Let me go to my, actually go here. Let's grab something I can grab. Here we go. We'll grab one of these. All right, open that image up. So grabbing that image there. And now I've got the image. This is the enlarged version of that image. And now I can ask them to, whatever I want. Label the parts of the manta ray. Not a great photo of a manta ray, but it's right. And now once I've done that, they have that ability to label on top of that. Does that help answer your question? Just make sure you choose Annotate.
Yes, thank you.
Sure. All right.
Mrs. Milio, I think we had one other question.
Yeah, thank you. It was too hard to write. I think I just need the logistics side of this. So if I'm doing this, I create this quiz and it's now saved in my drive, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
The kids would all be logged in and go through class links to Discovery Education.
Yes.
And then I would launch, will it just show up in theirs? Do I assign it to them? And then we're all doing this together?
There's a couple of different ways you can give them a direct link, and Christian's going to create a video on how to share that direct link with your students. He'll share that out to everybody. You can also, if they go into Discovery Education, there's a code. So every quiz has its own code that when I go to launch, I can give launch activity. And there's a code. If they put that code in when they're in Discovery Education, it takes them directly to that quiz. Or here's the link that they can put into the that you can put into an assignment for them to join the quiz. So there's a couple different ways. Does that help?
Yeah, I think so. I like the idea of having everybody be able to say something, then as a class discuss all various answers where they're hidden. The names are hidden. So I was just trying to figure that out. I'll have to play with it. Okay,
definitely. Please do.
Thank you.
And if you have other questions, reach out. Christian's got his email in there. He's happy to help you out. And give you any tutorials you need.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Brad. Thank you, Christian. I definitely appreciate you spending the day with us. I actually won't see you later this afternoon. It'll be Coralina. So I need to jump out to go elsewhere. But thank you again. We definitely appreciate your partnership.
Thank you, everyone.
And have a great, since I won't see you, have a great day. Everyone else, enjoy your lunch.
Take care.
Bye, everyone.
Now let me stop that recording.